As we remember the tragedy that struck our nation 18 years ago, we also honor those who answered the call of duty. Our next guest falls into that category. Brad Bowman joins me now. He's Senior Director of the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Brad, welcome in. You're a former Army Black Hawk pilot. Take us back to 9/11. Tell us about the day and how events unfolded for you.
Sure. Thank you. It's an honor to be with you. On that morning, I was a company commander in the U.S. Army of a helicopter unit, and we were doing our annual weapons training down at Fort A.P. Hill when we first heard of the attack. And I had made the decision to fly 2 of our Black Hawk helicopters down there for that training that were normally on standby for classified emergency missions. And when we learned what had happened, I was quick to get those back to the D.C. area. For the rest of that day, my unit flew military leaders away from our nation's capital into hide sites, not knowing whether another attack was coming. And then that night, I put myself on a mission to fly the Deputy Secretary of Defense from one of those hide sites, what I thought was back to the CIA headquarters, but he instead said he wanted to go to the Pentagon.
Interesting. So obviously that's an enormous responsibility, having to transport these people. Were you concerned with your own safety as if something else might happen later in the day or that evening? You
know, looking back now these many years, it's all surreal. You know, when we came in low back to our airfield, thoughts like, well, if the we weren't sure. We had heard about something happening in D.C. We weren't sure whether it was at the State Department. We weren't sure the status of the Capitol. There was a lot unknown at that point. And so the thoughts go through your mind, you know, might they be targeting military assets in the region as well? So you think about that, but then you also just think about what, you know, the task that you have in front of you, which is getting the helicopter from point A to point B.
Let me ask you, just because you personally are a Christian, during either that night or in the days to follow, did you ever lean on your faith? Did you have to think about that and meditate on any of that?
Yeah, I think so. I've been a Christian my whole life, and it's a core part of who I am. And you know, I asked myself, how could such evil exist? Why did this happen? What can we do about it? And you know, an all-powerful God permitted this to happen, and so you start to ask the bigger questions.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
How do you think then did your faith helped you to work through the tragedy and just continue to do your duty?
Yeah, no, I mean, seeing the Pentagon still in flames that night, and then seeing the Shanksville site a day or two later, and then seeing Ground Zero all within that first week as a pilot taking leaders to those various places, we slowly over time started to get a grasp for what had happened to our country. And then, of course, the remains from the Pentagon came into our base in the days after that. And as you saw the human toll, all the people that didn't go home to their families that night, like I did, you know, it reminds you that life is fragile, that you don't know how long you have live on this earth, and you want to live each day right and as best you can.
Such an important message, and obviously we thank you for your service to this country and for all those servicemen and women out there who continue to stay true even during very scary situation on that day.
Yeah.
Brad Bowman, Senior Director for the Center on Military and Political Power at the Foundation for Defense of Democracies. Thanks so much for coming in and talking with us.
Thank you so much.